Alright, so this really isn't like my typical other videos. I just wanted to talk about a few things that's a little different than I usually do. I think like what guys need to be aware of is like you want to make sure like every single base in life is kind of covered. Now, I don't want this to be like your typical or your like traditional like work harder video, hustle harder. And this video also has nothing to do with dating. Like, I'm just talking about how to overall have like a good life, so that way you don't have any like major deficits where you feel like you're behind, okay? So there's a few things that you really want to get good at in general, okay? Now I'm going to list all of them, and I'm going to explain to you why all of them are important. The very first thing that you want to handle, or the very first thing that you want to maintain and manage, is you want to maintain and manage your health. If you don't have good health or a strong body, you really don't have a whole hell of a lot of anything. Because without health, like, nothing else really matters. Okay, think about that for a second. Like, if you're unhealthy, are you really going to care, how, let's say, your career is going or how much money you have? Probably not. Okay, if you're unhealthy, that's going to also severely impact your dating life. If you're unhealthy, you're not going to feel good. Now, here's the thing. I'm a huge believer that a strong mind is a strong body, and a strong body is a strong mind. When you see a guy with a good amount of muscle mass, and a lot of times this will help with attraction too, but it helps with attraction for a couple different reasons. The first thing is obviously, it's good to be strong. It helps with your confidence, and also, it looks better than being out of shape, right? When you're healthy and when you're strong. But the second thing you have to remember is like there's a lot of character traits and discipline that anybody knows instantly that you have if you have a well-maintained body and a well-maintained physique, and you're strong and you like are able and capable. People know automatically that your diet is probably on point. People know automatically you probably prioritize sleep. People know automatically you can adhere to a routine. Okay, people will know automatically that you're disciplined. So women especially know that there's a lot of internal character traits that come with being fit, especially if they're fit. Okay, if they're fit and they're in shape, a lot of times they also want a man who's also in shape. A lot of times what you're going to see, like when you see like couples, is a lot of times the couple, right, like they have sometimes similar character traits or personality traits or habits beyond those personality traits that allows them to keep sticking together, okay? And like that's important to remember too. Now, another thing you want to maintain at all times is your finances. Like I'm a big believer that every single man should really strive for at least 1 year minimum of cash on hand in case, shit hits the fan. Like, you want to really strive to have at least a full year of savings worth of money where you could literally do nothing and you could sleep in every single day if you wanted to, and you know that everything's going to be okay. Okay, that's just important. You want to move with a certain level of speed, okay? Because the speed of doing things, okay, just think about this. The opposite of masculine is feminine, okay? The opposite of, like, motion would be stagnation. The opposite of moving would be sitting. You want to be in the energy that is doing, that is assertive, that is in motion. Like, I'll tell you a few things about me personally, how I live. I don't watch any TV. I haven't watched a single episode of anything in probably 5 to 10 years. It doesn't hold my attention. I feel like it's a waste of time. I feel like if you took that TV off the wall, you would literally be just staring at a wall, and the TV is just, a screen. I don't do any of it, okay? Well, what does that allow me to do? It allows me to be in an in motion or a masculine state. When I say in motion, I mean I'm constantly being active and doing things. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, I need leisure and I need sleep. Oh, okay, I guess do less then. You just go do less. I'll just do more. I've done more my whole life. I will just keep doing more. You can do less. I will do more. How's that? Okay, so that's that. Now, you might be wondering, well, okay, how do I save up a year of income if my current job only just pays the bills? Well, you're going to have to work a little harder. You're going to have to probably work extra hours. Now, when you work extra hours, you're going to start to see that you cannot just trade time for money. You have to put yourself in a specific opportunity in order to make more in a shorter amount of time. Which means when you work, after your work day is over, it almost forces your mind into like expansion. Expansive thought. So all day I'm in expansion. I'm constantly in expansion. I'm saying, how can I expand? Growth, expansion. Right? Growth. Expanding, energy, growth, growing, expansion, movement, doing. I do not get into bed until I'm ready to sleep right then and there. When I'm ready to sleep, then I get into bed. And I turn everything off and I go to bed instantly. There's no staring at my phone. There's no staring at more screens. There's none of that. Now, I do this for a variety of reasons. Okay, I want to have a good life. Well, what's a good life? A good life, okay, in my opinion, is when you have your health, wealth, and your relationships all on point. Now, I'm going to talk about one thing, okay, that I feel is very important, okay, or that I find to be very important. In my opinion, if you want to be successful and you want to get ahead in life, okay? No, I'm not saying if you want to have the biggest social circle or spend your time talking to a bunch of people. That's not what I said. What I said is if you want to have a good life and get ahead. After being alive for 29 years, okay, I'm 29 years old. After everything I've learned, okay, I'm not that old, but I've done a thing or two in, life and meeting people and making friends or, doing different things in my career or whatever, okay? I think it's much better and a better use of time to make deep, meaningful connections with people one-to-one. You will have a far more reward or a far greater reward in life, and your social skills will even be better if you get good at just talking to one person than if you try to be the guy who has this huge social life with all this recognition where a bunch of people know you. Okay, when you optimize for quantity of people instead of quality of relationship with one person, you end up having a lot of shallow surface level interactions that don't go anywhere or that don't mean anything. I think it's far better to have 3 to 5 friends that you've known for 10, 15 years that are dependable than it ever is to try to be the guy who is so well known or well liked that you think that that's the secret. Okay. Now, the other uncomfortable thing that you will have to realize is that in order to have balance of all of them, okay, so me, I think I've done a pretty good job in my life of having success in my fitness and not letting that ever go down and sacrifice my health. I've never been one to sacrifice my health. I am always pretty on point with my diet. In order for you to maintain your health and fitness, your career and your income, and your relationships with the meaningful people in your life that matter, it's going to be a full-time job. Okay, it's going to take all of your time. This is the one sacrifice, is you're not going to be a guy with a lot of leisure, okay? You're just not. You're not going to be a guy with a lot of leisure. You're going to be a guy who has to work to get it. All of these things take work, okay? Now, another thing that's going to happen is when you apply this level of discipline, you're going to have an older aura or an older spirit to you, okay? One of the things a lot of people have told me, sprinklers are going on. One of the things that a lot of people have told me is that I carry myself like I'm 40 or 50 years old, even though I'm only 29. I don't know if that's good or bad, and I don't really care. So that's the other thing too, is when you're on your grind and when you're doing the things that you want to do, you will realize that you probably won't care about a whole lot of anything else besides, this sounds bad, but yourself. Well, it's really funny though, when you focus on yourself and you care about yourself, is that right away people say, oh, you know, why'd you do that? But then what's going to happen, or like they'll think you're selfish, but then what will happen 5-10 years down the road is you are the only person that they know that can actually help them solve their real world problems if they actually have any. Like, you become the type of individual who can help teach somebody something meaningful, or you can show somebody how to, maybe get out of a bad financial situation and make more money, or you can, help somebody in a specific way because you've built so much skill. Your family members are going to probably tell you that you're selfish and that all you do is care about yourself. But what they don't see is you're building value that they won't be able to see that you have to actually help them until it's 10 years later. There's certain things that you're going to have about you that they can only go to you for because of what you've done and what you've built and who you've became. There's certain things you can help somebody with because of who you are. And that took a lot of time. And in the short term, they're going to say, oh, well, you're mean and all you did was care about yourself. But in reality, what's going to happen is in the future, when there's real circumstance or situation, you're probably like the only person that they can actually depend on. Okay. Another thing you have to realize in life is going to have a lot of hardships. There's going to be certain times where you have stress in your relationships or in your career or with certain decisions in life. And a lot of you, these decisions may or may not be dating related, but for some of you, they may or may not be career related and money related. You will have a lot of stress with certain things that keep you up at night. The only thing that you can do to overcome it is to never lose sight of your faith. You can never take a decrease in faith. As soon as you take a decrease in faith, you take a decrease in spirit and aura, and you take a decrease in just overall well-being. Every time I'm in a hard circumstance or a hard situation, I always say, okay, God has put this situation in front of me for a reason. It's my job and it's my duty to overcome it. In life, there's ups and downs, and even though this hurts, right? Even though this is, a struggle, or even though this is something hard that I have to get through, or that anybody has to get through, that because you have faith, you will stay strong. Very important to remember that. There will always be hardships. You have to be stronger than the hardship. Okay, for some of you, something really bad might happen where, let's say, you lose your job, or let's say one of your family members gets an illness. Let's say you get an illness. Okay, let's say you lose your job. Let's say your girlfriend or your wife cheats on you, right? Bad things are going to happen. Well, if bad things are going to happen, that's okay. You're well prepared. If you're well prepared, you know that you can handle these things. But that doesn't come unless you have your faith dialed in. Because here's what's going to happen if you don't have your faith dialed in is you might be on your grind and you might be self-improving or whatever, and you might be accomplishing a lot of things, and you might achieve the end result, and you're going to go, wow, why did I do all this? Or, wow, this feels empty. Or, wow, this was pointless. And you have to be okay with the trials and tribulations, and you have to be okay with the hardship, because you know that you're being molded and fortified into something more. So I wanted to make this video because there's a lot of men right now complaining, and there's a lot of men who don't have the life that they want. And honestly, when I see them, or when I see their habits, they're just not doing enough. They're worried about these things like fantasy football or video games. And then if you actually ask them and you say, well, how much work did you actually do today, right? Not to make this all about working, but if you say, well, where'd you actually put your time? They might have done stuff for like 4 hours, and then the rest of the day they kind of did whatever they want, and then they stared at their cell phone and then complained how hard stuff is. So here's the thing too. Another thing that guys can't seem to figure out is they can't seem to figure out this whole like a lot of guys say things like, oh, I wish I had more friends, or I wish I had a girlfriend, or I wish I wasn't so lonely. And I think a lot of that sounds pretty pathetic, because you could walk down the street and you can go talk to someone. You can go to, you can start doing anything. You can go say hi to someone new at your gym. You can go do anything and meet new people. This isn't that hard. It might take a little elbow grease right away, and you got to get uncomfortable if you haven't talked to someone new in a while, but give me a break. You're a human being. Humans have communicated on this planet for hundreds of years, or maybe thousands of years, I don't know. But you're going to tell me that you're just so lonely you can't just go leave your house for a while and go do something? Like, this is the problem, is guys want to just make excuse after excuse after excuse. You want to have an excuse why you didn't start your business. You want to have an excuse why you're still not in good shape. You want to have an excuse why you still don't have a girlfriend. You want to have an excuse why everything is not how it should be. And the only thing that happens is you just keep sitting in your bed or laying in bed staring at your phone. And it's like, give me a break. For some of you, you will be sitting in bed on your phone watching this video right now. And you're exactly who I'm referring to. Because if all you're doing is just like thinking, oh, my life's bad, or, blah, blah. Well, what have you done the past 7, 14, maybe 30 days to change anything? The answer is probably nothing. You probably haven't done anything new. Well, if you haven't done anything new, how do you expect a different result? From what I've found is most things in life are actually really easy to accomplish if you just do it. Okay? Like, it's really easy to get in shape if you just do it every day. It's really easy to have a good career if you just focus on it every day. It's really easy to make friends if a couple times a week you go and make friends. Well, another thing I want to tell you is, in order to think like this and to even comprehend this, you need to stop thinking in absolutes. Where it's like, guys will ask me these questions all the time. They'll say, oh, Casey, my money and my career isn't where I want it to be. Does that mean I should just completely stop dating altogether and I can't focus on dating? And then I ask them and I say, well, how many hours this week have you focused on your business? And they're like, well, none, or maybe like 3 or 4. And I say to them, I go, so you're telling me that you can't go out on a date for an hour or two and still make money? Like, this is so dumb. Like, guys say, should I approach new people or should I hop on a dating app? It's like, can you not do both? You could sit on the dating app for 30 minutes and maybe talk to someone, and you can go meet someone new. So a lot of these are just complete excuses. Like, and you make this way too difficult. You really just got to realize, like, if you just start taking action, you're going to realize a lot of the thoughts that you have that you think are important are just completely counterintuitive to your goals. Like, they don't do anything to help you. They don't do nothing. It's irrelevant information. It's irrelevant questions. It's irrelevant thought processes. So when you move in the way I'm teaching or I'm explaining, you start to become the type of man that people gravitate towards because they can see your skill. Okay? Now, I don't know how many more of these videos I could make where I keep talking about this stuff. This is pretty basic stuff. The reason why I'm telling you this is because if you think like I'm so much smarter than you, you're very wrong. I don't think that there's really anything you have to do that is super genius level in order to get to where you want to be. You just have to wake up and do what's required every day, and you just have to have a lot of patience. So you have to basically just say like, hey, I'm going to do this stuff every day for 5 years, 10 years. Then you'll be where you want to be. But you don't have to be super smart in order to have success in these areas in life. You just have to be disciplined. Every day you have to be disciplined. Okay? So, I think that that's way more important. Another thing that you have to realize or you have to remember is you don't want to really keep up with trends. Okay, I've never been a guy who tries to keep up with trends. I don't give a shit. I don't care what's going on social media. I don't care what's the latest picture. I don't care what's the latest clothing style. I don't care. I don't care. I don't have the time for it. I don't care. I don't know what the latest dating app is. I don't know what the coolest, spots are to do whatever. I don't care. I just don't care. And every year, my life tends to get better. And most people who care about these things, what I've realized is they're typically like stagnant. Their income is stagnant. Their lifestyle is stagnant. And they're trying to like upgrade things in their life because they think it's cool or it's trendy. And the problem is they don't actually have a real sense of self, of who they are and what they find to be important. So I hope you like this video. We'll see you in the next one.